Hello, welcome to Biology, the scientific study of life. A closer look at natural selection. From the range of available variations in population, natural selection increases in the frequencies of certain genotypes fitting organisms to the environment over generations. This section takes a closer look at natural selection as a mechanism of evolutionary adaptation. Evolutionary fitness. The phrases struggle for existence and survival for the fitness are commonly used to describe natural selection, yet these expressions are misleading if taken to mean direct competitive contests among individuals. There are animal species in which individuals, usually the males, look horns or otherwise, do compete to determine mating privilege, but reproductive success is generally subtler and depends on many factors besides outright battles for mates. For example, a barnacle may produce more eggs than its neighbors because it is more efficient at collecting food from the water. A moth may have more offspring than other moths in the same population because its body colors more effectively conceal it from predators. Wildflowers may differ in reproductive success because some attract more pollinators owing to slight variations in color, shape, or fragrance. These are all examples of adaptive advantage, and they are all components of what we call fitness, the contribution an individual makes to the gene pool of the next generation relative to the contributions of other individuals. In a more quantitative approach to natural selection, population geneticists define relative fitness as the contribution of a genotype to the next generation compared to the contributions of alternative genotypes for the same locus. Consider our wildflower population once again. Let's assume that on average, individuals with red flowers produce fewer offspring than those with white or pink flowers, which produce equal numbers of offspring. The relative fitness of the most reproductively successful variants is set at 1 as a basis for comparison. So the relative fitness of a white flowered or pink flowered plant is 1. If plants with red flowers average only 80% as many offspring, their relative fitness is 0.8. Although population geneticists often refer to the relative fitness of a genotype, it is important to remember that natural selection acts on phenotypes, not genotype. The entity that is subjected of natural selection is the whole organism. Thus, the relative fitness of a particular allele depends on the entire genetic and environmental context in which it is expressed. For example, alleles would enhance the growth of a tree's trunk and limbs may be useless or even detrimental in the absence of alleles at other loci that enhance the growth of foods necessary to support the tree. On the other hand, alleles or other pieces of DNA that contribute nothing to an organism's success, or that may even be slightly maladaptive, may be perpetuated in individuals whose overall fitness is high. In this way, thousands of pieces of old retroviruses and transposable elements have accumulated and continue to accumulate in our genomes. These functionless bits of DNA are carried along from one generation to the next because they do no harm. Survival alone does not guarantee reproductive success. Relative fitness is 0 for a sterile plant or animal, even if it is robust and outlives over members of the population, but survival is necessary for reproduction, and longevity increases fitness if it means that long-lived individuals leave more descendants than those that die sooner. On the other hand, an individual that matures quickly and becomes fertile at an early age, even if it only lives for a short time, may have more offspring than an individual that lives longer but matures late. Those many factors affect both survival and fertility, and contribute to evolutionary fitness. Directional, disruptive, and stabilizing selection. Natural selection can alter the frequency distribution of heritable traits in three ways, depending on which phenotypes in a population are favored. These three modes of selection are called directional selection, disruptive selection, and stabilizing selection. Let's begin with directional selection. It is, or notice this figure, modes of selection is most common when a population's environment changes, or most common when a population's environment changes, or when members of a population migrate to a new habitat with different environmental conditions than their former one. Directional selection shifts the frequency curve for some phenotypic character in one direction or the other by favoring individuals that deviate from the average. For instance, fossil evidence indicates that the average size of black bears in Europe increased with each glacial period, only to decrease again during the warmer interglacial periods. Larger bears with a smaller surface to volume ratio are better at conserving body heat and surviving periods of extreme cold. Disruptive selection occurs when conditions favor individuals on both extremes of a phenotypic range over individuals with intermediate phenotypes. For example, a population of black-billed sea-drocker finches in Cameroon displays two distinctly different beak sizes. Small-billed bears feed mainly on soft seeds, whereas large-billed bears specialize in cracking hard seeds. It appears that bears with intermediate-sized pillars are relatively inefficient at cracking both types of seeds, and those have lower relative fitness. As we read in the next chapter, we will read disruptive selection can be important in the early stages of speciation. Stabilizing selection acts against extreme phenotypes and favors intermediate variants. This mode of selection reduces variations and maintains the status quo for a particular phenotypic character. For example, the birth weights of most human babies lie in the range of 3 to 4 kilograms. Babies who are much smaller or larger suffer higher rates of mortality. Regardless of the mode of selection, however, the basic mechanism remains the same. Selection favors certain heritable traits that through differential reproductive success.